She was just a teenage girl walking home under the streetlights, headphones in, unaware she was being followed. The man in the dark thought she was an easy target, but what he didn't see was the shadow behind her, silent, watching, waiting. She wasn't alone, and what happened next no one expected. The town of Whitmore Falls had always been quiet after dark, a place where porch lights flickered on at 7, and by 9, even the dogs stopped barking. But on this particular night, the stillness was broken by something colder, something watching. 14-year-old Emily Jensen had stayed late at the library, finishing a school project. She texted her mom before leaving, but her phone battery was dying and the bus had stopped running. With only a 10-minute walk home, she didn't think twice about cutting through the back alleys to save time. She adjusted her backpack, pulled her hoodie tight, and started walking. Her sneakers echoed softly on the cracked pavement. She hummed to herself, unaware of the shadow slipping silently from the corner across the street. A man in his late 30s, unshaven, hands buried in his jacket. He had watched her exit the library alone. He had waited. The man's name was Greg. He'd been drifting from town to town, never staying long enough for anyone to remember his face. He looked like any tired man, nothing that would alarm a passerby, but his intentions were far from ordinary. Emily turned onto Millstone Lane, the shortcut behind the community center. It was narrow, lined with dumpsters and high wooden fences. The street lamp flickered overhead. Her phone died in her hand. She sighed and kept walking. That's when Greg started to move. His steps were practiced, deliberate. He stayed in the shadows, ducking behind trash bins, staying just far enough that she wouldn't hear him. He reached into his coat pocket, not for a weapon, but for a cloth, soaking in something that smelled strong and dangerous. Emily paused suddenly. She thought she heard a scuff behind her. She looked over her shoulder. Nothing. Just the long, empty alley. Still, she walked a little faster, clutching her bag tighter. Greg matched her pace, like a shadow mimicking every move. Then out of nowhere, a trash can fell with a loud crash behind Emily. She spun around, heart racing, but saw nothing. That's when Greg took his chance and lunged forward, his hand outstretched. But before he could touch her, he stopped. Because from the darkness behind Emily, something growled. Low, deep, unmistakable. Greg froze mid-step. That sound, it wasn't human. A deep, guttural growl vibrated through the narrow alley, rattling his chest. It wasn't the kind of warning bark a neighborhood dog might give. This was primal, dangerous, the kind of sound that made predators turn and run. Emily turned too, wide-eyed. She hadn't heard the growl, but she saw him. Out of the darkness stepped a massive dog. No, not a dog, a black German shepherd, lean and muscular with eyes like molten amber. Its fur shimmered under the flickering street lamp, and a thick collar hung loosely around its neck, worn, almost military style. It moved like it had training, purpose. "Rex?" Emily whispered, surprised but not scared. The shepherd stood protectively in front of her, growling louder now, not at her, but at the man behind her. Greg stumbled back instinctively. His hand shot up. "What the hell?" he muttered. That second of hesitation sealed everything. Rex bared his teeth. He didn't lunge, not yet. He was waiting for a command, or maybe a mistake. Greg glanced around, hoping to escape none noticed, but the alley had only one way out now, behind the dog. And the girl, she didn't even look scared anymore. She was staring at him now, piecing things together. Rex stepped forward slowly. "I wasn't gonna hurt her," he stammered, backing up into the wall. I got lost, man. I thought she was someone else." Emily didn't say a word. Her hand reached down to Rex's neck, not to pull him back, but to let him know she was okay. It was subtle, a gesture of trust between them. She knew him. This wasn't a stray or some lucky coincidence. This was planned. Greg realized it too. "You trained this thing?" he spat, trying to sound angry, trying to keep fear from cracking his voice. "What kind of kid walks around with a killer dog?" Emily looked at him, her expression unreadable. "He's not a killer," she said quietly. "Unless he has to be." Rex stopped growling but didn't drop his stance. And that's when Greg noticed something else. A small camera attached to the shepherd's harness, blinking red. "Are you serious?" he hissed. "Are you filming this?" "No," she replied, "but someone is watching." Greg's face turned pale.
In a dark surveillance van parked 3 blocks away, 2 figures leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen, streaming live from Rex's harness camera. "She's in position," said the woman in tactical gear, voice steady but tense. "Suspect has made contact. Hostile intent confirmed." "Send backup now," replied the man beside her. "Go silent." Back in the alley, Greg was starting to panic. His bluff was unraveling. His feet inched backward, his eyes darting toward the shadows, looking for a way out. But there wasn't one. Emily and the dog stood firm, and the alley walls felt like they were closing in. You set me up?" he muttered, his face twisted in disbelief. Emily's voice was calm, low, but her eyes burned with something deeper than fear. "You've been doing this in 3 towns. Same method, same pattern. You think no one notices girls walking home alone?" Greg's breath caught in his throat. "I saw the flyers. The girls who didn't make it home. My cousin was one of them." And there it was, the truth. This wasn't an accident. Emily hadn't just stayed late at the library. She wasn't just a random target. She was bait. Greg turned and tried to bolt, but Rex was faster. With military precision, the shepherd lunged, not to maul, but to take him down. His powerful frame slammed into Greg's legs, knocking him hard against the alley wall. The cloth in Greg's hand dropped. Rex clamped down on his wrist, holding him in place without drawing blood. Within seconds, red and blue lights lit up the mouth of the alley. 3 unmarked SUVs skidded to a stop. Doors flung open. Officers in tactical gear flooded the scene, weapons drawn but controlled. "Step away from the suspect," one of them shouted. Emily raised her hands. "He's yours now." An officer moved swiftly to handcuff Greg, who was now trembling and muttering nonsense. "She tricked me. She knew. This is insane." Another officer came over and gently placed a blanket around Emily's shoulders. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded. "Better now." Rex padded over and sat beside her, like nothing had happened. "You trained him yourself?" the officer asked. "No," she replied. "He belonged to my cousin. She was in the canine unit. When she didn't come back, I finished what she started." Part 4. Moral, rewritten emotionally. The town that once called Emily just a quiet girl now spoke her name with reverence. They didn't know the full story, not the months she had spent training Rex in secret, not the grief she carried like a second skin after her cousin Danielle was taken too soon. They didn't know about the late-night study in case files or how she replayed the last voicemail Danielle ever left her. "Be brave, Em. If something ever happens to me, promise me you won't be afraid to stand up." Now Danielle's killer was behind bars, not because of luck, but because of that promise. Emily sat in her cousin's old bedroom, now converted into a small memorial and training space. Danielle's police badge rested in a shadow box on the wall. Beside it hung a photo of Danielle and Rex during their last shift together. Emily reached up and added something next to it. Her own photo with Rex, taken just after the arrest. They were both tired, but they were standing tall. Rex, lying at her feet, let out a soft sigh. He was older now, his eyes touched by time. But in that alley, he had been a warrior again, not for duty, but for family. Emily knelt beside him and whispered, "We did it, boy. She can rest now." Outside, the wind stirred the leaves as the sun dipped below the horizon. Another quiet evening in Whitmore Falls. But tonight, it felt different, like something broken had been repaired. Emily didn't become a hero by choice. She became one out of love, out of pain, out of the need to make sure no other girl would ever have to walk home afraid again. Moral of the story:
Heroes are not always the loudest. Sometimes they are the quiet ones who carry grief in silence and still choose to fight. And sometimes they come with 4 paws, a loyal heart, and the memory of someone worth fighting for. Evil may hunt in the shadows, but so does justice.